Hi there, this video will instruct you how to make a peony bud using the Kelli Mini Flower. And you're going to cut everything according to the instruction image at the beginning of this video. It's also available in written form with the link in the description of this video, available in my PhotoFabPaperFlower Makers group on Facebook. So I'm using 65-pound cardstock, and the white is by Astro Brights, formerly Nina paper, and it's bright white. It's available in a quantity of 250 on Amazon or at Walmart in a quantity of 80. The green, the closest color would be from the Recollections or Joanne, the green shades of paper pack, or the Forest for Recollections. But you can use any green. I like to use the white because we're going to shade this with our ink. So hence my workspace is a little bit pink in color. So I'm going to put a piece of scratch paper, and I'm going to use just blue. Hopefully you'll be able to see the shading instead of using a white piece of paper. And for the two centers, again, this is a Kelli Mini Flower. I'm going to use my picked raspberry distress oxide. And again, I'm wearing gloves because it does get super duper messy with the chalks. I am using pan pastel and distress oxide. I like the combination. So we're going to go ahead and add the picked raspberry on both sides as our base color for our centers. Now you can use the finger dabbers, or this, in this case I'm using the round, and I've used both. Probably get a little bit more ink if we use our finger dabbers. And then a hack would be to leave the centers on your cutting mat with the background, so you can just quickly add it instead of holding the center and adding the ink, if that makes sense. Flip it over, and you're adding that picked raspberry on both sides. And of course you can use any color. This is inspired by a peony that I saw at a peony festival. So it was purpley pink with the white. So I promise you the shading is totally worth it. Okay, again, both centers, you're going to add the picked raspberry on both sides, or whatever color you would like to use. So thank you for stopping by. I hope I can inspire you to make a paper flower today. I do live tutorials on Facebook. The monthly schedule is posted and featured on my business page on Facebook, PhotoFabPaperFlowers. And my name is Julie, so thank you again for stopping by, and we're just going to ink that center. Okay, now we're going to take some pan pastels. So this set is by Leah Griffith, and this is the magenta. And all of these are noted on that written instruction document. So I'm going to use the magenta and the magenta tint, but that one's only going to be used on my flowers. So we're going to take a finger dabber. You can see this one's chewed up because I was using it on on some other flowers. So we're just going to go. So this is very chalky, so it's like your pastel chalk. So I like to rub it first, And it's going to really give it a nice hue or tint, really bright color. Now it is chalk again, remember, so it is messy and dusty. And you're going to go over the ink that you just added. So you can see the difference in color. It's a much more darker. Beautiful. Flip it over and do exactly the same thing. So a lot of prep, but definitely worth it. And then same way with your second one. Flip it over. Again, both sides, you're adding the ink and then the pan pastel. However, if you didn't want to ink it and just use a solid color, you're more than welcome. I'm just here to inspire you to make your own flower. Okay, so we're still on the center. So then I like to go back and add a little bit of the Seedless Preserves ink on the tips. So using your finger dabber again, you're just going to come through and just add it randomly down the top of the flower, or the center, excuse me. Flip it over. And you're literally just brushing the top. Okay. You can use any color. I like the little hint of purple with it. All right, so now you have your centers. So for your flowers, so this is pretty messy, so I'm going to get rid of that. And for our petals, well, let's do the sepal first. So I like to use forest moss, but depending on the color green paper, it would definitely, you know, your choice. We're gonna go around the edges on both sides, and I'm not careful. You're just gonna highlight it. Flip it over and do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm just going around the edges. I'm going to go in the center a little bit on both sides. Circular motion. Okay, again, that one was my forest moss. And now I'm going to go over it with a little bit of peeled paint. It is a lighter shade of green and a little bit in the center. So I'm going right in here. Flip it over and then do exactly the same thing. Those are my two favorite greens, the forest moss and peeled paint. So now we did our centers and then our sepal. So now we're going to take our petals, and for each of these, we're going to take our picked raspberry first. Okay. And we're going to go around the edges, and you don't have to be careful. We're really going to shade in these petals, and I only go around the edge on one side. So this bud is to complement the full-size flower peony that I made with not template 6, Kelli Mini Flower. Okay, so step 1, around the outer edge. And again, I'm not careful, you're kind of just highlighting that scallop. And this is the messy part. You'll see my hands eventually will get super messy. You can leave gloves on for the entire shading and creating of the flower, or not. Okay, around all the edges. So again, highlighting it. Don't worry what it looks like. It's just highlighting that edge. We're really going to shade the petals. So we are using Petals Design 1 and 2 from the Kelli Mini Flower. So what I like to do here at PhotoFabPaperFlowers is to take existing templates and style them a bunch of different ways to show you the versatility of my templates and just how much fun we can have with paper flowers and designing all different types of flowers and what they can look like. The creative side of this, I love taking the templates and figuring out new flowers. There's inspiration everywhere in nature. Can go around the edge. Okay, now the next thing, and I have them stacked by size, so these two are larger than the 5 other ones, is I like to add some ink. So again, the picked raspberry in the center in a circular motion, and then shade it out very lightly. So with a lighter hand, you're going to shade out. And you're doing this on both sides of every petal. Flip it over. Again, add the picked raspberry, circular motion, and then again, you're just going to shade it out with a very light hand. Remember, we are going to come back with our pan pastels, so it will really make it darker. So how much you want to add in coloring is totally up to you. So we're just going to stack it because we're going to come back and do our next step. A little bit of ink in the center and then shade out. Try and use a light hand, very, almost like you're coloring, super duper light. Just to blend it out. And flip it over to the other side and do exactly the same thing. And all these 5 are all the exact same size. So we just will have a little bit of white showing in our petals. Flip it over, and exactly the same thing. I promise you it is worth it. Again, we're just circular motion and then shade out. Okay, again, we're shading out after you do your circular motion, and it's on both sides. Use your finger dabber, circular motion, and then blend. It's a very light touch. Now we're going to take, again, our pan pastels in the magenta. So pretty. Okay, I'm going to flip my stack of petals over. Maybe I'll move them out of the way. Okay, take your chalk. And again, you're doing exactly the same technique. So now you're going to start to see it really come alive. Bright color. And I tend to go up more on one side. And because this is chalk now, you really, that's why you want to wear your gloves. Just do a light touch. Flip it over, circular motion, and then I just come blend it out. Always try and leave some white space, okay? It doesn't look like much now, but I promise you it will. Okay, again, we're gonna go back through, add in circular motion, and now we're using the chalk. So it really changes the color and makes it a lot more brighter or brilliant. Changes the tone or vibrance. Trying to think of the right word. Flip it over. Circular motion. Beautiful. And now we're just going to continue that process. So because this is a bud, it's our smallest petals. And if you were making the full size flower, you would have much larger petals. So it is a little bit more difficult to shade. You could use a Q-tip if you wanted to, or makeup brush, whatever works for you. Again, it's like using chalk, where you can really shade the colors. Some makeup sponges. Circular motion. And then blend out. So I really try and lighten up my touch as I'm pulling the color out towards the end of the petal. Flip it over. And I keep using the same finger dabbers, that way you have a lot of color on your dabber. Oh, I forgot to do the opposite sides. One moment. Oh, plenty. I do like the two-step process. If you've heard, just to use the chalk. I didn't like the look of just the chalk, for me personally. Forgot to do the opposite side on this one too. So again, I'm using my picked raspberry ink. And then we're going back with our magenta. Both sides, same technique. Roll it, curl, roll it. Go in a circular motion in the center. And then pull with a light touch out from the center. Okay, flip it over, circular motion. Now I like to go back, same way with our pan pastels. And this is the magenta tint. So it's a really soft pale pink. And with this step, I hold it up. I don't place it down on my mat or on my surface. And I kind of just add a little bit of color at the tip. So you're kind of just blending it in. And I try not to cover all the white. So we're kind of smoothing it out. Blending it out. Flip it over and do exactly the same thing. Okay, blending it out. So I'm kind of going about halfway up the petal and just pulling the color out. And this is exactly, again, if you choose to make the full size, full peony using the Kelli Mini Flower, this is how I styled all the petals. So again, you can rub it. That's what pan pastels are. You blend it. You can use blending tools, your finger. Flip it over. A little bit of color. So you can see how it matted it, the color muted it a little bit, not as vibrant. Then I'm kind of leaving white on each petal, and it's going to be a nice highlight. And then if you feel like you did too much color, you can always go back. I think I did that side, right? You can always go back and add more of your magenta. Like if you're like, oh no, that I did too much. Just shade in a little bit darker again. So it almost creates an ombre effect. And I try and hold it up in the air so it doesn't blend my colors from down here, or you can get a new piece of scratch paper. And again, always, if you feel like you wanted it a lot brighter in the center again, so the top petal will be the one we inked, like so I'm making sure that's facing up. So again, we use the lighter to blend out the edges. So I'm just kind of going over to where it stopped, if that makes sense. And you can do as little or as much as you would like. Always dab it on your scratch paper. Okay, flip it over and then do your edges again. Just giving it a much smoother appearance. Now this is the back of the petal, but the petals are going to be standing up pretty much. So if you really want to see that dark, you can add some more after we toned it down. A lot of steps again with the coloring, but I promise you it is worth it. It does take, like, to do the full flower, it's probably 45 minutes to an hour to do all the petals. Now I'm talking, of course, so it's taking a little bit longer. Okay, and then our two largest ones, which will be our outer petals. exactly the same way. These remind me of a lobster claw. So I'm just blending the edges. And then flip it over and do exactly the same thing. Kind of muting it. Okay, and then our last one, this is their very outer. Petal. And I'm just adding a little bit more of the darker. Beautiful. So you can see definitely your hands get super messy. Okay, now for styling, for the center, we're going to stack them. And I think I'm going to put gloves on again. So my hands are super hot, so we'll see if they go on. That's a task in itself. It does come off your fingers, so I can get them on. It's all good. So we're gonna take our bone folder, stack your centers, and you're going to curl it. Now you will have to clean your tools after this just because the chalk will rub off. So with them facing towards you with the lashes, we're going to take our slotted quilling tool. And if you do need any tools, I do sell them in my Etsy shop, or if you're outside of the US, they are available in my Amazon storefront. So simply thread it in the slotted quilling tool, roll it a few times so the curl is facing towards you. Add some hot glue. And we're trying to keep that bottom edge aligned the best that you can. And you're going to secure the end with hot glue. Okay, so you can see it does add a little bit of purple hue at the end. Add enough hot glue to go one rotation around. I did add a lot more, so it's okay. Go to where your last center ended, attach your second center, roll it towards you, keeping that bottom edge aligned the best you can. Secure the end with hot glue. Now what you can do is with whatever ink's left on your dabber, you can go ahead and add a little bit more purple if you wanted to. Remove it from your slotted quilling tool and set it to the side. Now we're going to take our flower shaping mat. So it's a soft foam mat. Mine has been used for other flowers that I made. So you can see the pound pastel is on it. So for your sepal, you're going to take your metal ball stylus. So they come in a set of 4, and they have a different size metal ball at either end. So we're going to take one of the smaller ones, and we're going to roll it in a circular motion to lift that petal. So circular motion, and it just lifts it up towards the center. Circular motion all the way down the petal. So starting at the top, circular motion. You can see it closes in on itself. And then we're just going to open it up ever so slightly. So I'm going to flip my petals over. Now they are on the wrong side, so let's not flip. Let's just put them back down. So these 5 are all the same, so I'm going to stack them. These are very, very, very center. So you're going to take your precision scissors, and you're going to go in between one of the petals and cut ever so slightly in towards the center. Skip 2 petals and cut in towards the center. Skip 2 petals, cut in. You don't want to cut off your petals. Skip 2 and cut in towards the center. Just allows our center to close in on itself. Now we're going to take the smallest metal ball stylus, and you're just going to go back and forth with lines around the edge, and then circular motion. Okay, back and forth around the edge, circular motion. Back and forth to create some texture around the edge, and then starting at the top, circular motion down towards the center. So you can see it closing in on itself. Back and forth around the edge of the petal, and then starting at the top, circular motion. Back and forth like you're coloring, adding lines around the edge, circular motion. And I'm going to do this for all my petals. This is an arm workout. So I'm sorry or you're welcome. Go around the edge, circular motion down towards the center. So you can see it really closed up on itself. And look at the shading, how beautiful it looks now. Okay. Back and forth around the edge, circular motion. So I'm just going to continue this for all my petals. Okay, so we just did our 5 smallest ones. So now we're going to come back through and we're going to use our peony mold. So it's a plastic half sphere mold, and we're going to figure out which size we're going to use. So the small, we could use this to flip it in there. And I think I'm going to use this one, which is our 20 millimeter. You're just going to press the top part of the petal in there, and you're going to use your metal ball stylus to shape it. So it's going to be more of a curved shape than these. So these are our outer petals. So we want them to be a lot more curled. Press it in the mold and stir. And then what you can do is you roll the center, you can pull them down. Now you can really see the shading of the flower. It's simply gorgeous. Again, for this one, we're going to take a look here and we're going to use, this is our outer petal, we're going to use the 25 millimeter. It's a little bit wider. You're going to press it in with your finger and then stir it with the metal ball stylus. So it takes the shape of that half sphere. Now, if you don't have the mold, I do offer it in my Etsy shop and Amazon storefront. You can also use measuring spoons. I do like, I have more control. So this, I usually lean up against my tummy. It gives it a lot more stability. Press it in with your thumb and stir. Press it in and stir. Okay. Roll the center. Now what we're going to come back through, we're going to use our piercing tool, and this is from Dollar Tree, and you're going to poke a hole in the very center of each one. So we're going to keep them from smallest to largest lined up. So I'm just piercing it right in the center on your flower shaping mat, or as close to the center. I'm not particular. I don't cut the holes when I'm cutting my flower petals because I don't like the little pieces on my mat. And then you'll do the same for your sepal. So now we're going to take some 18 gauge wire. I'm just looking for a piece. You need your needle nose pliers. So mine's a full-size wire. I'm going to cut it in half so I don't poke you in the eye. You're going to place that wire in between your needle nose pliers. Okay. Now, I want this kind of small, so I'm going to try and bend it as best I can. So you do a shepherd's hook. Place it back in between your needle nose pliers and give it a squeeze to close that hook. Okay, place it back in the needle nose pliers, bend it 90 degrees like the corner. Now with the, when we stem our peonies, we start from the center out. So we're going to take one of our peonies, the smallest, so all 5 are the same. And then these 2 are different sizes. So you're going to poke it through, thread it on, we're going to add glue to the underside of this loop. Ooh, watch your finger. Ooh. And now I'm gonna thread my, be careful, it's hot. Thread your petal up there. And we're gonna give it a moment. And now we're gonna take our center, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and add glue on the bottom. I'm gonna use my thing. So all across the bottom and around the edge. So just be careful, hot glue burns. We don't edit that out when I do oopsies. Okay, again, around the edge. Place it right in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to press up and around because we added that glue around the edge. So press it at the bottom so it attaches and it's kind of closed up. Okay, so you can see, yes, it's all over my fingers. We're going to take our next petal, we're going to roll the center, really close her up on each other. We're going to thread it onto our floral stem, and now we're going to add some hot glue around the base. Just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to place these petals in between the previous layer's petals. So I'm going to look at those two and press up and around. Gonna roll our next one and then open her up a little bit, thread it onto your floral stem. Look at the beautiful color on the outside, gorgeous, but yet you see it from the inside. It has a nice vibrant hue. So again, around the bottom edge of your last petal. Now I like to just take it down from the top and place the petals in between the previous layer's petals. And then you just fold it up. Okay, roll the center of your next petal. Roll it around that bottom edge there. Hopefully you can see. Oops. Place these petals in between the previous layer's petals. So just open it up and bring them straight down in between. So this one went in between these two. And then just pull it around. Make sure it's secure in the bottom. This is the last of our 5. Roll the center. Thread it on. Add some glue around the base. And again, we're going to look at a petal and place it in between the previous layers. So I looked at that one and placed it in between those two. Press it. Oh, she is stunning. Okay, then we switch to petal design 2 for just 1 petal. Thread it onto your floral stem. Add some hot glue around the base there of where the petals meet. And again, pull it down, place those petals in between. So now we're going to change the look because these are a lot more curled. Now we're going to roll the center, thread it on. Now we didn't cut in the center either of these two. Add some glue right around the base. Thread it in between your previous layer's petals and press. Now we take our sepal. Now you could do the sepal. I'm going to do it upside down, meaning the petals are curled under, just because my previous petals were like that. Or do I want it up and around? Let's do it up and around. So with them rolled up, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna really close it in. Okay, so I'm going to add some glue along the bottom, but I'm also gonna add some right on the tips. You're gonna have to work fast just because hot glue dries super fast, the Gorilla Glue. I have strings. And now I'm going, oh my goodness, thread it down and press it up. And there you have the peony bud where it didn't open, and it's a great or beautiful complementary flower to the larger flower. So it's like it hasn't opened yet. So thank you for watching. Alternately, you can thread the last two petals facing downward. You add some hot glue around the floral stem and then attach the petal. So this would be styled a little bit more like the larger Kelli Mini Flower styled as a peony. Give it a moment to dry. Then thread your last petal on in between the previous layer's petals. Add some glue around the floral stem at the base of the flower. And again, attach those petals in between the previous layer's petals. And you can fluff out the flower, attach it, make sure it's secure, and the petals did not move. And then lastly, you'll attach your sepal just like you did in the previous version, which I show at the beginning of this video. Here I'm just shaping it, the flower, to my liking. And attach the sepal with the petals rolled under. Add some glue around the floral stem at the base. And attach the sepal. Just be careful, we added a lot of glue in the same location, so we don't want our petals to move. But look how gorgeous she is. and she's perfect with the regular peony bud as shown at the beginning of this video. And it's a great complementary flower to use with the larger sizes. Thank you for watching.